to do is within ourselves. The changes that we need to make within ourselves, if you do, you see your pets better, you see your lives better, you see your neighbors in a different light, you see everything differently. You don't worry so much about what's going to happen down the road because this moment is perfect. There is nothing else that can be added to you to make you better, right here and right now. You let your ego have it, of course. It's going to scare you half to death with the what ifs. But there is no future. This is where we are, right here and right now. And isn't this moment beautiful, wonderful, where we are? I get up in the morning and it's really become a spiritual practice for me to practice staying in the now and telling my ego to shut up and sit down. I had a friend call me the other day on the phone and she says, I know I'm a burden. I said, no, you're not. I said, your ego, your pain body must be up, because that's typical what we say when we need to take out the cat of nine tails and beat ourselves up because we're human. So don't go there. It's not important. It's not necessary. If you need to feel pain, okay, but recognize that you're feeling it. And recognize that it's an illusion that your ego is set up because it needs to feed. It just needs to hurt today for some reason. But the thing is that we have tools that can turn that around just like that. It is such a privilege to be able to come into a place like this and know that we have tools like that. You know, there are some of us who are raised in old-time religion, and some of us have kind of icky little places down in our being somewhere that maybe are afraid that Jehovah is real, that 6,000 to 8,000 year old idea of what God was out of the Old Testament may be true. And I had an exchange with my mother years ago where she's a Jehovah's Witness. And I told her, I said, I don't want to spend my time on the phone with you arguing about what kind of God I have. I said, because I don't want Jehovah. And she's like, oh, don't say that. And I said, did you happen to notice I did not get struck down by lightning? My God is big enough to allow me to even criticize him, and being in my worst, my tattered pajamas, in my worst moods, looking the worst of the possible day. And he's like, I love you so much. But Bob last week shared some stuff, and I just wanted to give us a perspective, a little perspective about changes that have happened even in the last 100 years. We're not talking about 6,000, but it was fun to do some of this research. And I just wanted to give us a little bit of comparison between where we are now and what was happening 100 years ago. A few years ago, a girl came up to me and she goes, this is the worst time in history to be alive. And I told her, I said, you're not much of a history buff, are you? And she's a lesbian. You know, I mean, just 2 or 3 years ago, we're marrying them now. They are able to come out and be who they are without fear of being beaten to death or killed or persecuted like they were not very long ago. Is that not fantastic? And it's the worst time to be alive? 100 years ago, just for fun, electricity was 15 years old in our homes. The Model T came out in 1908. Radios as we know it came out in 1928. So Ernest Holmes published The Science of Mind in 1928. At the 1893 Chicago World Fair, juicy fruit gum, hamburgers, cream of wheat, Quaker oats, spray paint, Ferris wheels, and escalators were introduced for the first time. Medically, this is really fun. In a way, scary, but there were no antibiotics. There were no treatments for diabetes, cancer, or heart disease. And the one that's so much fun, really, is hysteria. Women were, by their husbands, could be institutionalized by what we call PMS today. They called the disease hysteria, and they thought one of the causes was from reading novels. So, There is a wonderful movie, if you have Netflix DVDs, and it's called Hysteria. I really recommend it. It is one of the funniest romantic comedies I've seen in a long time, but it shows some of that craziness, where we were at that time, and how evolved we have become. The problem is that our primitive ancestors probably, it's always, there's compensation, there's this and that, there's always, so our health isn't as good as probably what they were 6,000 years ago, because they were eating totally organic, gluten-free, sugar-free, all that stuff, and they lived 900 years, and we don't do that. But we've got some strengths on the other side of the scale. Like Eckhart Tolle says that things are getting louder, things are seeming to get better and worse at the same time. The reason that it seems worse at the moment is because the worse is so much louder than the good. The good has a tendency to be very quiet, doesn't it? So we need to work on opening our heart and loving ourselves, because the love that we're seeking is inside, not outside. And and I promise you this because I've had the experience, as soon as you see yourself in the mirror as loving you as much as you deserve to be loved, then everybody in front of you transforms. But you will never, as long as you are less than, as long as you do not see yourself as lovable, you will never see the thousands, the throngs of people that love you. It just doesn't work that way. So things happen in God's time. We don't understand darkness and suffering in this world because it seems to be a persistent, absolute fixture. Eckhart Tolle says that suffering is necessary only until the time comes when you realize it never was. And that one, I'll be chewing on that one for quite a while. But a quote comes from one of my favorite Course in Miracles prayers, and it says, "I will heal as I allow Him to teach me to heal." And then a poem I read for you before, but it repeats me. It can be repeated every single day. It's so beautiful. It's by Loretta P. Burns, and it's "When Children Bring Their Broken Toys." And it says, "As children bring their broken toys with tears for us to mend, I brought my broken dreams to God because He was my friend. But then, instead of leaving Him alone in peace to work alone, I hung around and tried to help with ways that were my own. At last I snatched them back and said, 'How can you be so slow?' He said, 'My child,' He said, 'what could I do? You never did let go.'" As we let go and reveal to our beloved source our weakest moments, our mistakes, the things that we're ashamed of, that we still hate or still in judgment of, if you will allow Source to let the light shine in on those shadow places, Emmett Fox says, God is always ready when you are. As you open your heart and allow yourself to be fine just the way you are, you will notice that you treat your pets better, your neighbors better, the world better, and your life will be better because it's an inside job. Be the change you want to see in the world. Thank you.